Welcome to the Journey Youth Podcast. It is the month of May 2021, and I, Natalie, am here with Geoff, whom you've probably never seen before in your life.
First timer.
And Bethany, who is a grade 11 student in our ministry. Say hello.
Hi.
Geoff, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a longtime listener, first time a participant in this part of the podcast. I'm a 38-year-old man with two kids, Jack and Winnie, a cat named Puff Daddy, a wife named Levon, and we live in the area.
Where do you live?
I live on Tulip Drive. You can find us on anywhere at Camp Tulip, at Camp Tulip.
Perfect. Bethany, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I really like musical theater. I have a YouTube channel, so I've been a YouTuber since 2013, and it's kind of what I spend my life doing: musical theater, singing, YouTube.
Any sports? Play any sports?
Oh yeah, I do gymnastics. That's also a thing. I forgot about that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh wait, your whole YouTube channel is gymnastics.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, good.
Actually, I have two YouTube channels now, but
What's-
that's
Lifestyle.
yeah.
Okay, I want to know
And
about that.
gymnastics. I'm following Bethany.
Wow, thanks.
I follow.
Natalie.
I'm friends with Bethany on her alternate Instagram handle.
Yeah.
We won't bring it. That one's secret. That's secretive.
It's a secret one.
Yeah, it's secret.
Bethany initially followed me on that account.
Really?
But because it was private, I didn't actually understand who it was.
Yeah.
And then I
is
realized
Bethany.
I was being followed by a star.
Did you know that Bethany and I went out for lunch when she was in grade 8? We went out to Tim Hortons.
That's cute.
It was really intimidating.
It was.
Apple fritters?
No, I don't know what we had.
I got Wendy's food. I don't know about you, but I got a Frosty.
Yeah,
I
that's
remember
true.
that clear.
And
I think it was
what do you
vanilla.
want? Yeah, and her parents like, hey, we'd good to Bethany connect with you. We wanted Bethany involved in the journey, and so we went out, and it was awesome. And I interrogated Bethany for a good part of an hour. I learned everything about her, and she was like, "Who is this person?"
I mean, it was fun, but also at the same time, I was like, "Why does this guy want to talk to me?"
Yeah, but we're friends now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who is this guy? I mean, let's see. Let's talk professionally here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You have a job.
Yes, I've got a job. I'm the youth pastor here at this church that we are in the basement of right now.
Yes, and today's podcast episode is based around a conversation of telling others about Jesus.
Yeah.
Sharing our faith with others. And Geoff, your job explicitly tells people when they ask you, what do you do?
Yeah.
You kind of tell them right away that you're a Christian.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, people I meet, they're like, what do you do? I'm a youth pastor. Oh, what does that mean? Or they're like, okay, I don't want to talk to you anymore. But yeah, I'm a professional Christian.
Crazy.
Which I don't like. I mean, I did this for free for a long time, and I would do it for free forever. But I'm a professional Christian. So my job is to tell people about Jesus.
Yeah.
Which is
crazy.
fun. It's awesome.
And Bethany, I'm assuming that if people ask you, what do you do? You're like, well, I'm a grade 11 student, first of all, still in school. And then you tell them what you do, but what you do doesn't explicitly say I'm a Christian, like being a pastor at a church would. Geoff, my question for you is when you want to fly under the radar,
Yeah.
but you still want to tell people about Jesus. How does that fly? I mean, I know you live at a Camp Tulip.
Yeah, it's just my house. I just have a fun name for it. But yes, I live at a camp.
And you have neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Do all your neighbors know that you're a Christian?
Increasingly, yes.
Okay. When you first meet them, though,
Yeah.
you meet a new neighbor and you're like, oh, you live in that house. Cool. What goes through your head?
Yeah, so this happened to me a couple weeks ago. We have new neighbors across the street, a young couple and their dog, and they moved in, and they've never owned a house before. They lived in an apartment, and the house they bought was, the yard was not maintained. And if you know anything about me, I love a good yard. I like mowing the lawn. I like fertilizing the lawn. I like watering the lawn. I like having a really nice looking yard. And so for me, that's really important. And they looked at mine. They're like, it looks so good, but they don't know how to do it. And so I said, hey, whatever you need, I want to help you do it. Do you need to borrow my lawnmower? Do you need to borrow my trimmer? Do you need to do this? And I realized that I could sense that it felt over the top to them. And I remember Levon and I went over and I just said, hey, I know that maybe this feels a little wild. I'm over here helping you, offering you help all the time. I want you to know that's just the way Levon and I are. We genuinely just want to help you. We're thankful that you moved across the street from us, and we consider our responsibility to help you move into this home and move into it well. And wherever we can lend a hand, whatever we have that we can offer you is yours. You know the expression, nothing I own owns me. And so anything I have, I'm willing to lend to somebody else. And so for us, it's like, how do I just serve my neighbors in practical and meaningful ways? That when they do eventually come over, maybe in a couple, or when it warms up, we'll have them out on the deck and have a socially distanced visit, that we can open up. He knows I work at a church. He knows that we have people in common. Thanks to Facebook, he knows like who he works with, my old boss's, wife and all this stuff. And so we just get this opportunity that like, before I've ever told him about Jesus, the sermon that is my life has been being told to him for months, that I've like cared for them, shown interest in them, encouraged them, served them, walked alongside them, and like offered to help them in any way I could.
Yeah.
And I feel like when the time comes to share Jesus with people, those things give it traction.
Totally.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And there's a verse that this kind of makes me think of. It's from the Gospel of Matthew in Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. And he says, "You are the salt of the earth." My sister-in-law, Shale, puts salt on everything.
Ooh.
She loves salt. But what does salt do? It brings out the flavor, right? In the Message version of this very passage, it says, "You're the salt of the earth, bringing out the God flavors of the earth," which is really interesting. And so, like Geoff, when you talk about that, it makes me think your love for your neighbor that is rooted in your faith in Jesus Christ brings out the God colors of life. And it makes life more vivid and bright and full of joy and hope. You're the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. Now, of course, Jesus was talking to religious people and saying, look, you think you're special, but you've kind of like lost your edge. And then he says, you are the light of the world. And so we're supposed to bring light into people's lives and allow them to see Jesus and see the truth in a special way. So Bethany, my question for you is, what has sharing Jesus in your context, whichever context you'd like to talk about, what has that looked like for you? And how do you share Jesus with
Can I call time out?
Oh, yeah.
I think, can I contextualize Bethany? Because it might be easier for me than to like have her trying to be like, no, not to know what to say.
Okay.
Can I toot her horn?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Sometimes it's easier.
She alluded to YouTube being a bit of a hobby.
Yeah. So Bethany's been on YouTube for 8 years now.
How old are you?
16.
Yeah. Sweet. How old were you when you started YouTube?
9.
No, 8.
8.
8.
8.
Yes.
See? So Bethany and I made a video like 6 years ago. It was like she came over to my house with her dad and they made a video about Christmas sweaters. But anyway, Bethany has over 160,000 subscribers on YouTube. So Bethany's YouTube platform is significant. There's a lot of people, and I imagine your target audience is a lot of people your age or younger, right? That look up to you. And so for you, putting yourself out there on social media and being a person of faith can mean that, unlike me, when I put myself out there in my neighborhood, you've got a platform where people can be quite rude to you and scrutinize you. Yeah. So I would love to hear about you. What is it like for you to be a person of faith, living out your faith with a platform that is, I think, beyond what most people your age have? And like, I would love to hear what's been hard about it. Because that's kind of in the conversations you and I have frequently is like, how do I navigate this? So anyway.
Okay.
Good context.
So I feel like I mostly spread faith outside of my YouTube videos. I don't really focus doing it too much in like on social media just because it is a crazy place, and like also I don't want to spread fake information, so I always try to like dial it down. But some things that I do is like on my new YouTube channel that I started, in like the first, I think 6 videos, in every video, I like subtly mention that I was Christian. Like I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to move my Bibles here. Like, just little things here and there. So that's one thing that I would do. And then on my Instagram, sometimes if I found a verse that I felt was like really, not necessarily like, I wouldn't pick the ones that could be more confusing. Like I pick the ones that are more of good morals that like everyone would understand. So maybe through that, maybe they won't even notice it's a verse. Like,
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, like I kind of would post some of those sometimes. But yeah, you also want to know outside of social media or just social media?
Share what your experience of sharing your faith has been like.
Okay, so there's another thing with being so known. There's this girl I really like to like follow. She's Christian and like she's very bold. And I commented on one of her posts like 2 weeks ago, and she was like apologizing because she kind of made like a video and it was a little like controversial. And like I commented because she responded to it so well, and I said, "Oh, you're such an inspiration." And then people came at me and they were like trying to cancel me for saying that, for like just being a fan of hers. So there's always like that side of it.
And you say people like DM you and like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I have, and I get like DMs of like people who are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm Christian too. Like, this is so cool." And then like I've met fans who are Christian, and like I've done, I just like sometimes I just talk about Jesus with them, and it's really cool because I'm like meeting all these people.
It's awesome.
And I also had this one lady reach out to me, and she said, "Hey, there's this girl, and she's trying to find like sources or to help her like learn how to read the Bible." And I know exactly how that girl feels, but the woman couldn't really help her because she's kind of learning herself too. So she asked me, and I gave her like paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of my experience and how I learned how to read the Bible, because it was, oh my gosh, so intimidating. Like I didn't actually start reading it, like understanding reading it, until like this January. But I've been Christian like my whole life. So yeah, that's like one thing with social media for the whole spreading faith thing. And then like in like regular life, I have like one friend who I always talk about Jesus with it, like, or with like, or half of our conversations are just like Jesus related.
Oh,
Wow, we love Jesus, and it's so fun. And like she's been in every one of my classes this year. Like every quarter I have at least like one class with her. And like my recommendation to people is, if you want people to hear about Jesus, you find your Christian friends like in your class and talk like kind of loudly about it. That's what we do. Like we'll start talking about Jesus, and then everyone will kind of just back up and be like, "Okay." But like we talk about all these things, and it's so fun. And like you can like subtly like plant seeds in people, and like just like make them aware of it without even directly speaking to them. And like, yeah, that's kind of like.
Well, it's interesting because like Natalie in high school was like, so, I mean, I've known you since you were in what, grade 8, 9?
Yeah.
9. So, and now you're what, like 30, 35? How
Oh
old are
my
you now?
gosh.
How old are you now?
25.
Oh, shoot. Okay. You're getting married soon too. But like Natalie had a really contagious faith in high school, and she was really bold about her faith, but it was also, man, like as a youth pastor, I have sat and listened to students talk about everything under the sun. If it was Liam, it might have been Pokemon, or it could have been
Luke and being homeschooled.
yeah, Luke talking about being homeschooled, or it could be some student talking about their vacation, or it could be someone like, I will listen to almost anybody talk about something they're passionate about. Like if you're trying to explain to me how cryptocurrency works, if you're passionate about it, I'll probably sit and listen to you talk about it, because I like get excited to hear people passionate about things when they're genuine about it. So you talking to your friend about Jesus, like in 1 Peter, there's a verse that says like, always be prepared to give the reason for the hope that you have.
Oh, I have it right here. I was
Whoa,
like,
4:13. I didn't want to say the end in case I got it wrong.
It's 3:15.
Oh,
Do you want me to
see?
read it? I can
Please,
read it. I'm
please,
ready. I'm ready. Okay.
Hit us with it.
This is from 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 15. But in your hearts, revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect, keeping a clear conscience, so that those who speak maliciously against your good behavior in Christ may be ashamed for their slander.
Yeah. And I think this is it, man. Like, this is it in my neighborhood. This is it, I think, in your school, too. It's like, people are going to watch you, and especially you. Like, you're going to be scrutinized way more than I probably will, I ever will. But people are going to watch you over time, and they're going to watch the way that you endure criticism. Mm-hmm. They're going to watch the way that you endure hardship, seasons of sadness, maybe someone you know passes away, how you deal with a pandemic that we're in, where it's like, man, it could be really easy to be bummed about everything.
Yeah.
And that, for me personally, in the last year, like we uniquely have a home that has an alley behind us, and we wanted to help. We put out like a fire hydrant in the back, a big thing of dog bones, and a bin for people to put the dog poop in. So all the dog people in our neighborhood come to my house and walk up, and we talk to them. And they're like, why do you do this? It's like, well, because we want to serve you. We live in your neighborhood. We want to do our part to make your life better and serve you and your pooch. And so over time, people start to say, man, there's something different about those people. There's something different about Bethany in the way that she talks. And when they hear you passionate about Jesus, they're like, well, like you said, you're sowing seeds, but you're giving traction to your words when the time comes that they say, give us a reason for this hope that you have. And you say, it's all about Jesus. He's given me a desire to love you, to care for you, to pray for you. Even though you don't know it, I pray for you guys. I want to serve you. And even at a cost to myself, whether it's time, money, or convenience, is that actually like my love for you is shown in the way that I care for you. And so, yeah, pal, like this is it. I think this is the way. I don't know. Have either of you ever been like argued into an opinion? Has anyone ever just like argued at you so much you're like, you totally changed your mind?
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm sure of it.
But typically it galvanizes you, right? When you get in an argument, you typically dig your heels in.
Yeah. Like I've definitely been in situations where people are like, you should do this differently. And I'm like, well, that's not really convincing.
No, you're like, no, I'm going to do it my way.
Actually, yeah, that's happened to me.
Yeah.
About it.
But that's the thing is, like, I think people think with faith, it's like, I've got to figure out all the right things to say so I can absolutely dominate someone in a debate.
Yeah.
But actually, I think more than anything, man, I was loved into the kingdom.
Yeah. And that verse, it says with gentleness and respect, you know? Mm-hmm. And something that Ben and Jay talk about in the Alpha course or in the Youth Alpha Film series is that you don't actually need to have, like, the answer to everybody's questions.
Absolutely.
Right? It's like you're going to be known for your love. And so if you start sharing Jesus with people, like the best way, in my opinion, is to start by sharing how Jesus changed your life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Start by sharing how Jesus changed your life and share it in love. Share it with gentleness and respect as it says in the Bible. And that's all that's really commanded of us. Of course, like Jesus says, go tell people about what you've seen. Go tell people about me. But later in the epistles, it's like be ready to share your story of transformation with Jesus and be ready to share it in love with gentleness and respect.
Yeah, there's something like contagious about it, right?
Yeah.
It's is it Acts 4:20?
That's my life verse.
Is it?
Yeah.
As for us, we cannot help but share with things that we've seen. Isn't that Acts 4:20?
Oh no, I was thinking 2024. Sorry.
Acts 4:20. You never put that on a camp shirt, but it's a great verse. You want to go to Acts 4:20 real quick for us?
I can flip over there.
Because that's exactly what you're talking about, Bethany. It's like, man, Jesus is so good, we can't help but talk about him.
Oh man, like totally agree.
Yeah. So how do you deal with discouragement though? In like, obviously, I don't like people, like, I'm a total people pleaser, so I hate being rejected. Mm-hmm. I feel bad when people call me, like telemarketers. I feel bad when people come to the door. Someone came to the door, the kids and I laid on the floor to pretend we weren't home because I didn't want to reject their sales pitch. So how do you deal with it? How do you deal with rejection when you're like, you want to tell people about your faith, or do you feel like people are being critical of you?
So, like, I feel like with being a YouTuber since I was so young, and like now, like YouTube like has turned my comments off on like one of my channels because so many kids watch it and like that's their new law. So it doesn't really happen anymore. But beforehand, it was kind of preparing me for what was going to come. Yeah. But people leave hate comments like, "Oh, you're fat," like, you know, just like all the random stuff. And like naturally, it didn't actually get to me, which is like really good because like those can like just shoot people down. And like I'm very thankful that like I didn't see that in myself. Like I didn't let their insult be an insult. I just took it as good. Those are your words. Like, so what? Like you choose to make something an insult. Like, yeah. So then like when I do still have this friend. She's like, she's not Christian, and like she's very passionate about the whole atheist stuff. And I like, before I was educated, like we would like bicker about like our beliefs, and like I totally lost trail of thought there. But basically like, so it would become a problem, and she'd be like, "Oh, like I respect your beliefs," but on my hand, I was like, I really wanted her to follow Jesus, and like, you know, still praying for her. But I think That's one thing, like, the comments prepare me for, like, just these discussions I would have with people where some people aren't always gonna, like, agree with you. And, like, that's just one example. I haven't had too many, like, faith conversations that have turned badly or people, like, hate me because of my faith. I mean, just that, like, comment section story I was telling earlier, I guess that's kind of one, but, like, I was calling her an inspiration. It's almost not even faith related. Like,
How did you navigate it, Nat? You were in the God Squad in high school.
Yeah, that's kind of a hilarious part of my high school experience. Bethany, it's kind of funny. I feel like I'm like just 8 years older than, or like 8 years ahead. Mm-hmm. Am I 8 years ahead? Maybe 10. Anyways.
Maybe 20.
But when I was in high school, me and my whole friend group came to Journey. And at school, we were known as the God Squad, and people would tease us about being the God Squad, like the Christian friend group at Semiamu, you know? And some people were maybe more public than others. I think I was one of the people who was more vocal about my faith. And I remember one time I was in high school and Geoff invited me to speak at Journey. So this is like closed doors, you know, private Thursday night event. Private. I mean, people are welcome to come. But if you're not there, this is like live stream, you know? We weren't live streaming youth yet. And so I spoke at youth on the Thursday night. And then the next morning, 2 or 3 like random peers of mine who I didn't normally speak with, I'd been in classes with, but like I wouldn't really consider friends, came up to me and said, "I heard you spoke at church last night." Oh my God. I was like, "What? How did you hear about that?" And I was like, "What are you going to ask me?" Or like, "What, you know, what do you think about me now?" Like I was like scared, you know? And that was kind of it. It was just like, "Oh, like cool." Almost like that's bold. Like you stepped out and did something. Yeah. You know, you like stood for something. And I remember just like kind of how surprising that was, or like shocking. But what's interesting, and Geoff, you kind of alluded to this earlier, is like I presented myself like publicly as a Christian in high school. And I kind of go along with my life, and you know, I haven't tried to like overcome like public, I don't know, like politics or whatever for Jesus or anything like that. Like I have not been as public as that, but I have consistently shared my faith with people over the years, of like over the last 10 years. And it's interesting how now it comes around, and I still meet new people. So I'm meeting people who haven't known me for the past 10 years, but it's just interesting because it's becoming less and less surprising to people that I'm a Christian. Mm-hmm. And the people that have known me for so long, they're like not surprised that I would be having a Christian podcast or speaking at church now or releasing Christian music or whatever. And so it's just been kind of like an interesting journey of consistency over the years too, where it's like I didn't get in too much like debate about Christianity. I've just kind of like quietly met with Jesus in the morning, every morning of my life for the last 10 years. And then it's kind of just like led to me becoming the person that I am today.
But you've also lived your faith out consistently in seasons of like, man, I'm out at McGill and things are going great, to like, man, things are hard right now. Yeah. Or like, I don't know what's going on with my life. Like I've watched you do that and it's been really inspiring. But I think a good illustration for Bethany, for you, and for Natalie, I've watched yours because I've been able to have a kind of a front seat to your life, is like, it's kind of like chopping down a tree, right? If you use an axe, and it's like swing after swing after swing. And there's people that Natalie met with in high school that she was chopping down that tree, but she may never be around to see that tree fall. And by that tree fall, I mean them come to faith. But she had a part to play in it. She got to be a part of the process of them falling into God. And there's people that you may never know because of your platform, but you may begin the process, and that they may fall into faith a year from now, 10 years from now, but you might have played a small part in it now. And so that's the thing that we underestimate, how like these interactions, the ways that we speak, the ways that we're kind, the ways that we are graceful when others wouldn't be, that we're guarded with how we speak. And so, I think Natalie, you did your experience in high school continues. Like the seeds that you sowed using what you said, Bethany, I've watched Natalie's life sprout those seeds. And it's pretty impressive. Like Christianity is a long game. Sharing your faith is a long game.
Yeah.
It's not an elevator pitch. It's not
it's not always an altar call.
Yeah, it's
like
not
it's like in real life playing out, it's not an altar call. We aren't like, walking into a room and standing on the table and saying, Jesus Christ is Lord. Like, who wants to believe in Jesus?
Yeah.
And like turn their lives around. It's like, well, I think it's more relational than that.
Yeah.
It's like, these are my neighbors, and I'm giving to them. I'm sitting down for a meal with them. I'm walking their dog for them or whatever. And it's like a long game. And we share our lives with people.
People get confused though. They think like that you sharing your faith looks like the guy on the street corner screaming at people to turn from their sin. Mm-hmm. It looks like the guy that's like shaming people or getting in an argument. I mean, that's not the Christ that I read about in the Bible.
Yeah.
He was someone that gently came alongside people and loved them, and where it was appropriate to tell them the truth, but like he did that, but it was through kindness and interest in walking alongside them. And I think that's the way in 2021 that I think faith is going to be shared, and people are going to be won into the kingdom by winsome people like yourself, Bethany, that's like living your life for God and not always having it dialed in and perfect.
Yeah. Bethany, do you have a life verse?
Or
not
favorite
really.
verse? Do you have a favorite verse?
I also don't really have a favorite one.
We'll work on that. We'll work on that with you.
Yeah, I have like every night, basically every night, I like cut out a little piece of paper and I like write one verse, and like I put on my like dresser that's like facing my bedside, so
Amazing.
like I can look at them. They're pretty high right now though, so I can't really read them. But like at a point they're gonna be at eye level, so
Sounds
I
like
can
quite the
just look
dresser.
at them.
That's cool.
That's
so,
awesome.
Like, yeah, I kind of have a list of my favorites.
Yeah,
there.
That's awesome. Geoff, I found my life verse.
What is it?
So I'm going to share it, and then I'd like you to share yours.
Okay.
Because it's kind of funny. I think we're talking about telling others about Jesus and sharing our faith with others. And, like, admittedly, I think if we're talking about, like, spiritual gifts, Geoff and I, and probably you, Bethany, too, we all lean towards evangelism in, like, how we naturally would express our faith. And not everybody is going to have this like natural inclination to share their faith publicly and everything. But so it's just kind of a little bit ironic that like our life verses are so like go and tell.
Yeah.
But here's mine. It's from the book of Acts.
Okay.
However, I consider my life worth nothing to me. My only aim is to finish the race and complete the task the Lord Jesus has given me, the task of testifying to the good news of God's grace, or in the New Living Translation, of the wonderful grace of God.
I love that.
Yeah, but it's all about telling others. And Geoff, do you want to read yours?
Yeah, First Thessalonians 2:8, if you want to go there and read it. 2:8. You're close.
First Thessalonians.
You're in NIV, right? That's NIV right there?
Yeah, I'm not really an NIV gal, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I'm more of an
This
NLT gal.
This is a kid's adventure Bible.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, it's so fun. Okay. So we cared for you just because we loved you so much. We were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well. That's the piece for me, is that I want to share with you the gospel. I want to tell you about who Jesus is, but I also want to invite you into my life. And I want you to know me. I want you to know the good, the bad, the ugly, the parts that I'm not proud of, the parts of my life that are hard, but also like into the mess of it. I think the worst thing we can do as Christians is like pretend like we have it all together. That like becoming a Christian all of a sudden means all my problems are going away. I got joy, joy, joy in my soul, and I'm happy, happy, happy all the time. And like Christianity isn't about being happy and clappy and all those things. It's actually about like meeting God, about meeting him in the midst of the hard things of your life, and like being able to say, hey, we don't have it all dialed in. And I think for me, it's like the people I've done life with for the last 22 years at this church, it's like I've shared with them the gospel, but shared of myself. I'm very willing to self-disclose of my own failures to people. And I think I'll just say this quick, as Craig Groeschel, pastor from a church in the United States, said this, he says, we impress with our strengths, but we connect in our weaknesses. And so for me, I don't want to just impress people with my accolades and with whatever I'm accomplished, but I'm like, actually, I want to connect with people and saying, hey, I don't always get it right.
Yeah.
And here's where I struggle. And here's where I've hurt before, and where people have hurt me or where I've hurt other people.
Yeah. Bethany, before we finish the podcast today, I have a book here for you.
Oh my gosh.
I think you already know that you're getting this book today, but it's Love Does by Bob Goff. And I love this book because Bob just tells stories from his life where he, in all of his whimsy and joy and extravagant generosity and creativity, chooses to show the love of Jesus to others through simple acts, but sometimes like radically loving acts. And so I would put this on like Journey recommended reading. Like if I could recommend every Journey student read one book, I would recommend this one.
And the best thing about Bob's book is that somewhere in here,
it's the last page. He puts his phone number.
Bob includes his cell phone number. Where is it? Connecting with Bob. There it is. And the last line, he puts his cell phone number. It's legitimately a cell phone number, and you can call him. We've called him before. He picks up the phone and says, "Hey, it's Bob. How you doing, man?" That's what Bob. That actually sounds more like Jimmy Buffett than Bob Goff.
He's so California, though.
Yeah, he's so cool. And so I think this book for you, Bethany, is going to be a good challenge for you of like, how do I live up my faith with a platform in a way that's like winsome, that's not divisive, and that doesn't like, I talked about this, like, how do I say things in a way that doesn't leave so much room for interpretation that people can misconstrue my heart?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh,
and it's easy, right? When you can add so much value to words. You probably had a text conversation with someone that you're like, you read it in a snarky voice, and then, but it wasn't meant to be snarky, right? I don't know about you guys. I read every text in the voice of the person. I hear their voice in my head.
Wow.
And so
there's probably a word for that.
I don't know.
Like people that hear something but see color.
Maybe.
Anyways.
I have a very vivid memory. But Bethany, you're awesome and thankful for you. And thanks that you've been a part of Journey since the 6th grade.
Kind of. Like
yes.
I came in 6th grade and then I like couldn't come because
but you were in the film. Your Film Fest video was filmed at the Sandcastle Lanes. I remember your 6th grade music.
I want to see it again. I haven't seen it for so long.
We'll dust it off for you. But Bethany, I remember the day you walked in, and I'll remember the day you walk out next year. Oh, are you going into grade 12 next year?
Yeah.
It's okay. We got lots of time to invite Bethany back to the platform.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, and I love, and just so you guys know, Bethany reached out and she's like, hey, I want to help out in any way possible. Like, she's like behind the scenes, hosting whatever, and I just appreciate that, like, she put herself out there. And so if you're in that position, you're like, hey, I want to be bold in my faith, or I want to serve the kingdom and help Jesus be proclaimed in any way. There's lots of ways to do it. So reach out to us if you want to serve, help out, get involved.
Yeah, that's it.
That's cool. Thanks, guys.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Bethany. And we will be back with one more Alpha-inspired podcast episode next week.
Hey-o.
Bye.
Bye.